So there's been a lot of noise right now about our stocks going to continue to go up. Is there going to be a pullback of some sort? Are we about to hit a recession, et cetera, right? So Rell and I on this episode are going to cover 3 to 4 stocks and let you know what we think is going to possibly happen. Are these stocks actually about to go down? Is it about to stay stagnant? And what Jerome Powell could possibly do to the stock market, is it going to impact it in a negative or positive way? So Rell, let's get straight into it, bro, and talk about a couple of things right now.
Yeah, so first I want to kind of bring us back to last year, right? You see the title of this article says just how badly did stock markets do in 2022? How badly did they perform? Well, if you look at the NASDAQ, in 2022, the NASDAQ was down. It finished the year down 33%. The Russell 2000, which is going to be your small cap stocks, they finished the year down almost 22%. The S&P finished the year down 19%. It actually saw declines of even lower than that. And in fact, it was the worst year since its 37% decline in 2008, right? So this was not good at all. And if you guys remember, even last year, we talked about how the S&P had its steepest sell-off to start a year since 1939.
Yep.
Horrible, right? And the Dow Jones wasn't as bad as the others, but was still negative almost 9%. So now coming into this year, as soon as this year touched down, we literally started seeing everything push up, from Bitcoin to the S&P to the NASDAQ to everything started pushing up, and we've had a crazy bullish year. And Newski, if you could remind us, please, how much are we up on the NASDAQ? How much are we up on the S&P 500 so far?
So NASDAQ, we're up 38% year to date. And then for the S&P, we're up about 14%, 14.8%.
Man.
Which is obviously huge, right? Because like what we just said in terms of last year. So if you continue to like dollar cost average, like we were preaching for you guys, it would be a much more different situation than you being down right now. You'd actually be up.
Yep. And we talked about too before how like even things like Bitcoin benefit when the NASDAQ pushes up. And I know there's been a lot of like controversy regarding Coinbase and Binance and altcoins, but everybody's shifting out of altcoins and putting it into Bitcoin. And that's how we've always been big advocates of Bitcoin here. And as you guys see, Bitcoin is now trading above 28,000. It's holding up pretty well after coming off of a little bit of a sell-off. And so we'll see where it wants to go. I think Bitcoin still has upside, because if you guys look at the SEC case, that didn't affect Bitcoin. That SEC case actually comes at altcoins. So Bitcoin's actually in the safe zone for that. So I like that. Look at Meta, yeah. So a lot of people were very bearish on Meta. A lot of people thought Meta was done. And you guys might remember when this happened. So you guys might remember a certain earnings call where we closed the day around $323. They had earnings. We woke up and Meta opened the day at 2. Like, bro, they dropped off like almost $100, bro.
Yep. Yeah, and it's crazy because that wasn't even the first time Meta did that. I actually remember before, like in 2019, I think it was, Meta had a huge fall off back then too. Like Meta is known for doing these big drop offs when it comes to like earning calls itself.
Yes, bro. And it's crazy because we left that big gap where like a gap, for people who don't know it, is like basically like when you close the day at one price and the very next day you open up at a price dramatically lower or higher than it. As you guys can see here on the chart, there's no candles in between here, so there was a gap. But now look what happens in this time period. We have been filling this gap. So if I were to put a rectangle on the gap, you can see that we're pretty much filling it right now. We're pretty much filling it. So I think,
can we explain real quick, right, like what filling means for these people?
Yeah, filling a gap means that we're starting to trade up to the price that we left it at, basically from before. So remember how I said before, we closed the day way back then at like around $323, and it opened up around $240 something dollars, right? Roughly. Now we're finally trading back into that region because there was no candles in here, and now you see candles over here to fill in that gap in price.
Yep.
So that's what you see transpiring. So I think Meta still has more upside, despite any pullbacks that may come. I think Meta still has more upside. You can even see today, at the time of recording, it's actually green on the day, when today the stock market was kind of red, which is why people think like, yo, is the run up over? Yep. Is the run up over? Look at a company like Microsoft. They've had a crazy run. They actually hit an all-time high last week. And as soon as they hit the all-time high, they started falling off. So remember that red means that it's going down. So you guys can see they literally hit the all-time high and then they started trading down ever since. So
And I think just real quick to something to point out to you guys is we're going over the biggest stocks right now, right? Like, so for example, like Microsoft, Apple, like Nvidia, Tesla, Netflix, all those stocks. So when we go over them, this doesn't mean that we're short on them. It doesn't mean that we don't like that company. We still like these companies. So they're doing a bunch of different things and we're going to cover that. But just for the time being right now, we're saying that in this example, I personally do see a pullback for Microsoft, right? And I think, Rell, you would agree. Like, we can't constantly just keep running up. And a pullback doesn't necessarily mean that, oh, we're going to hit a recession. It's going to come down to like $100. No, it just means it's going to cool off and cool down a little bit, let the price restart and trace itself. And then we're going to continue doing what it does, especially if it's a good company.
yeah, I think what I want to see for Microsoft to see a pullback, for me to be convinced on this pullback, is I would like to see if Microsoft, and maybe by the time people are watching this, it may have happened. I want to see if we could get under 330 and ultimately under 323, because under these prices, then I could see Microsoft really considering the sell-off. But it's in the area right now where I wouldn't be surprised if it were to bounce and continue pushing to even pass through those all-time highs, even higher than before. That's very possible. So Microsoft on high watch. Nvidia, we saw this as an all-time high.
So this stock freaks me out.
Yeah, this thing it's not dying, bro. It just keeps going. Bro, they're up to today was, like I said, today was a red day in the market. Like everything traded down, but Nvidia specifically is up almost 3% today.
Yes. And I think with Nvidia, what it comes down to is there's a lot of hype around it, right? Everyone is like, even if you don't invest, you heard of Nvidia at this point. And there's a lot of people saying AI, which obviously is big with this company, right? Like, it makes perfect sense. It's a buzzword. It's getting a lot of attention and they're doing great things in the company. Now, do I think it's going to reach a $600 point that I've been seeing some articles on? I don't think so. No. Do I think it's going to also pull back? Yes, because eventually, in my opinion, these stocks, after they hit an all-time high, we don't know how much higher they can go. It's at an all-time high. We don't know the next level. So will it cool down? I think so. Yes, eventually it will cool down.
Yeah, and technical analysis, like myself, we sometimes tend to take out the Fibonacci tool and we try to see projections on where price could go. But ultimately, it's all speculation. No one really knows, like you said, that very next level. So Nvidia is on high watch to see signs of a pullback, but right now, there are no signs of a pullback on Nvidia as it stands. Like, literally, it's showing strength. The market was red today, but Nvidia was green. It's showing strength. Tesla, you want to speak on this one? Because you've been really bullish on Tesla.
Yeah, Tesla, bro. I love Tesla. Like, I think at the end of the day, I think this is the only stock that was, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it went up consecutive like 13 days in a row or something like that. Like, there was a stat on that, right?
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. So we've been seeing this go crazy since, I mean, as I said, we don't have a crystal ball or nothing, but since we timed this at 166 when we bought it at, it's done amazing, right? It's like at that point that Rell is hovering over it, that's where we bought it. And it's been going amazingly higher. And honestly, I would like to say that I think it actually continues to run up a little bit more, because at the end of the day, the deals that they've gotten, right? As I said, I'm going to show an article where they partner with, Ford, GM, and Rivian, where they are doing charging stations now. So that's a huge piece of it. Plus, don't forget, it's not only a EV, like, it's not only electrical vehicles. They also have AI on top of that as well. So I think Tesla goes up a little bit higher. Is it going to go back to their 52-week high? I wouldn't be surprised, because it has a lot of strength behind it. A lot of people are buying it, and it's a fan favorite. Can it come back down eventually? Yes, I do see it coming back down eventually. It's going to cool off. But right now, for the time being, I could see it going up and hitting that level that Rell is hovering over right now.
Yeah, I can see Tesla coming up here in the 312 area. It has some things that could potentially cause rejections in this area, right? But if it could make it past like 290, and then I would start to see it push higher and push past these highs. So even up in here around like 300 area, but I'm high on it. I'm not gonna lie. I'm definitely bullish on Tesla. I'm not even gonna hide it, bro. I'm not even trying to be humble. I'm bullish on Tesla, bro. I've been riding this Tesla on the options level, because you guys know I trade. We've been riding Tesla calls, or basically betting that it's gonna go up for weeks now in a row, and it's been paying dividends. So Tesla is good.
And I will say, just really quick, I want to be very transparent. Like, I've already sold my gains that I made from Apple. I made a 30% gain on Apple from the last price I bought it at. Tesla, I'm sitting on 25% return already, which I also will be selling if it hits 30%. But remember, these are all gains. Like, we speak a lot about this channel about taking your gains to the bank and then investing them back when companies pull back or when you see a low company. Do not let anyone shame you for taking gains. If you take 30% gain off the table, that's way better than you just collecting that money and letting it sit in the bank. All right? Like, don't ever feel bad for that.
Yeah, I'm so glad you said that. And I'll show one more, because I know we have an article on it, which is I want to just show Netflix really quick.
Yep.
Because Netflix has been pushing higher, and Nusi's going to share with you guys why. I believe Netflix does have more upside, even if it does experience a pullback. I believe it definitely has some more upside, so I'm bullish on Netflix as well. Before I give Nusi the screen, I want to show you guys something about the dollar, something that you guys could keep in mind, right? When the dollar, right, the value of the US dollar, as it drops in value, that is risk off for asset classes. So what that means is, like equities, for example, that's like risk off for like stocks. So when the dollar is going lower, typically stocks are free to reign, free to push higher. When the dollar is moving higher, usually that shows signs that stocks are going to be pulling back. People are taking risk off of the table. So the dollar is definitely showing signs that it wants to continue pushing lower. You see the past 3 weeks. This is a weekly chart, which means every candle represents 1 week. So these past 3 weeks, we've been finishing red. We've been pushing down. So far this week, we've been green. That's why we've seen some pullbacks in the market today. But ultimately, even if we have a little bit of a pullback, I see the dollar trading down and breaking these lows down here. And so for me, I believe that there's still some more upside to go on stocks before we experience a pullback, based on the fact that the dollar has some lows that it'll be hitting, because they're inverse relationship. All right, so let's bring up the stuff you got.
Yeah, I'll do it real quick, right? So guys, the reason why I'm bringing this up is because I want you guys to actually read into it, and I'm going to put all these links in the description below. But right off the bat, to start with Netflix, their Netflix subscriptions rise as password starts being the whole crackdown effect, right? Like, the Netflix is not letting people share their accounts anymore. So it says Netflix has seen its 4 biggest days of subscriber additions in the last like 4.5 years. Because obviously, like, if Rell and I share an account, we can't do that anymore. So if I'm sharing his account, I have to go back, get my own account. And there's been a lot of shows on Netflix that people are streaming into and checking out. So that's gonna end up helping Netflix. Now, I think Netflix should have done this a while ago. I think they also should have done an advertising model a while ago, but I'm not the CEO, so that's a different story in itself. This is another one with Microsoft. So this article was pretty cool because it says, could it be a $5 trillion company by 2030? Right now, I believe it's at 2.5 trillion, if I remember correctly. So if you think about it, I want you guys to give a good read to this. But in my opinion, everyone knows, for me, Microsoft is bae. I would love to marry Microsoft if I could. But at the end of the day, I think it's an amazing company. Can they please let this deal go through? I hope so. I want Microsoft to buy that gaming company, because if it does, it's actually up and it's stuck. Another thing we want to point out about Microsoft is right here. So obviously, shout out to Amazon Web Services, right? AWS is the #1, but Azure is not that far off, right? Azure held 23% of the global cloud infrastructure market at the end of the calendar year in 2022. Microsoft's 32%. Like, it's not that far off. So it has a chance, and it's already way ahead of Google. You see 10% right here for Google. Microsoft's already killing them in that game. So we're saying this because, remember, Rell and I were talking about earlier that could we see a pullback? Minor pullback, yes, but long term, these companies are great to hold. Just keep that in mind. Another article was Apple. So this one basically provides you a bull and bear case, right? Something to point out for this one is Apple is getting involved in AR and VR. If you guys think that the whole Siri that Apple holds is not going to be huge for them, you're absolutely insane. Just keep that in mind. It's going to be very, very important for them to get involved. They're staying quiet right now. Doesn't mean they're out the game. And then go ahead.
Now, I just want to say, like you said, they definitely been quiet on AI, but to think that there's an AI craze going on and Apple has their hands in everything, I think they don't got something brewing. Imagine, like, a lot of AI components that we've seen right now are more in the form of a chat bot. Like, ChatGPT and stuff. That's when Apple puts voice on Siri with the AI component, and Siri has the same capabilities as ChatGPT, and you can actually talk to your AI on your handheld phone or whatever device you're using for Apple at the time. They're gonna incorporate something of that sort for a fact.
It's over by then, honestly. And last but not least, we already mentioned this, but definitely give this a read because it provides you more details. But when Tesla starts partnering with these companies, and these companies have to look towards Tesla, is because they were the #1 dog in the industry. They have a huge competitive advantage. And at the end of the day, once again on this channel, we teach you guys about what companies to invest in because you have to have a competitive advantage. Tesla has a huge competitive advantage over all its competitors right now. So there's a lot going on, and bear case and bull case for both sides. But right now, you have to understand at the end of the day, dollar cost averaging is going to be key, but also investing in companies that are undervalued is going to make you successful. And that's what we wanted to share in this episode. So,
and I want to say, just guys, don't just be an investor who just sits still and watches gains disappear or
take them damn gains.
Yeah, for real, take your gains. And also, if you watch your company start to go negative, you guys should learn how to trade so you know how to benefit when stocks go down. Understand, as a trader, you make money when stocks go down. And so please, if you guys want to get involved in the trading community where you learn, contact me. We're going to put the link in the description for my community where I give a whole mentorship. I'm giving a full mentorship on how to trade effectively. We make a lot of money in that chat, and you'll see it when you join in there. So definitely check the link out in the description.
That's a fact. And if you're still watching, thank you. We appreciate you. Please let us know your thoughts on what you think is going to happen in the markets. But like always, like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Plus, hit that little notification bell because we drop
2 videos a week.
And you don't want to miss them. We dropped a fire episode on Monday about real estate, so check that out. But we'll check you next Monday. Until then, peace.
Peace.
Soundstripe.